بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفينا ومعوانا وملجأنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد نورك ساري والمددك الجاري واجمعني به في كل أطواري وعلى آله وصحبه يا نور. الحمد لله. We were looking yesterday, we were on page 45, about halfway down in the book. We were looking yesterday at some of the advice that was given to our students or graduates from Darul Mustafa, from those who had finished studying at this school, Darul Mustafa, and some of the advice that they were given. So we looked at different things about the importance of service and the need to serve other people for the sake of Allah, for the sake of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he mentions here, he says, لا يقر نفسه على ميل لثناء الناس ولا على استلذاذ بمدح الناس ولا على الالتفات بالمنزلة في قلوب الناس ولا مورد لغرض النفس ولا يزال يجتهد يطلب من ربه الثبات. That he says that don't allow anything to settle into your heart that's other than Allah. So don't allow the praise, the love of praise from people to settle into your heart. Don't allow, like enjoying like praise from other people. Don't allow that to settle into your heart. Don't allow turning towards trying to impress people or towards trying to gain a status amongst people. This love of leadership, which they say that the masters of spirituality tell us that the love of leadership is the last thing. It's the last thing that goes from the human being. When someone's purifying themselves, someone's on a journey to Allah, the last thing to leave that heart, the final thing that leaves that heart is love of leadership. And they say, therefore, love of position amongst people, the love of having like a rank of people loving you, people liking you. This love is greater than the love of wealth. And it's actually the most intoxicating. It's the most intoxicating pleasure in the dunya. If you look at this dunya, this temporal realm that we're in, this realm that distracts us. We're not talking about dunya as in alam, the world. The world itself, mashallah, is beautiful. The world is just this older signpost pointing us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the actual world itself. The problem is not the world, the problem is what they call the dunya, which is that which distracts from the world. That from the world which distracts us, it veils us, and it prevents us from seeing Allah, and it prevents us from approaching Allah. That dunya, those distractions. From all of those distractions that exist, and there's many of them, there's many things that distract, especially now in this end of time. The Prophet ﷺ said that in the end of time, that passions or desires will become diversified. This was one of the things that he mentioned to us over 1400 years ago. And that's certainly true today. The amount of variety of things, like even 100 years ago, even 50, 60, 70 years ago, there were generally a few things that people were into. People like food, or they like, certain types of clothes, and it was very limited. Now there's just so many things out there, so many distractions. It's just beyond belief. Like we mentioned yesterday in the Nif Sha'ban event, that the mobile phone, as an example, the smartphone, the amount of time you spend, that's a massive. And then also the phone itself, it allows for so many other distractions. How many a man now has been destroyed by gambling due to their phone? Or how many has been destroyed by looking at inappropriate things? And now the stats are scary. The stats are telling us that 1 in 2 people, 1 in 2, 50% of people use their smartphone to watch inappropriate content regularly. This is a sickness of the society that we're in, a society that's really addicted to filth and to foulness, for want of a better term. It's the only term to describe that kind of material. So people are now using these technologies, which can be used for great goodness as well. This technology isn't the problem. The problem is of the human being who hasn't been trained, who hasn't got an ability to be able to control how he uses this technology that's in his hand, this powerful machine that's in his hand. So all of these things. So this is all dunya. Now, from amongst all of those things, the most pleasurable thing of the dunya, the most enjoyable thing of the dunya, is for other people to like you, for other people to love you, for other people to praise you. That's why you'll see with the scholars, the ulama, they go to great lengths, and they go to great lengths to make sure that this is removed from their hearts. And they go to great lengths because it's a massive struggle being completely free and disconnected from human beings, from creation around you, is from amongst, if not the greatest challenge to the human being. We naturally crave, we say this as children, children naturally crave attention. They naturally crave the approval of the parent, the approval of the elder sibling, of the cousin, of the uncle, the aunt, the grandfather, the grandmother. That's why when you're raising children, it's important to not make them the center of attention. One of the things now is that you'll see now is children will go into like a room and then everyone's, yeah, here he is, here she is, etc. That's not actually healthy for the child. Now, obviously here and there, oh, isn't that nice? You're going to go to someone's house and everyone's, mashallah, showing love and affection to your child. But for that to become a regular state is very problematic. The child shouldn't be the center, because that's what just breeds this idea of wanting to impress or wanting to have a manzila fi qulubi nas. Yeah, our teacher Habib Ali al-Jifri mentioned once that when he was younger, he wanted to wear like some certain, like, I think they were having a wedding or something like that. Someone was getting married within his family, and he wanted to wear like a certain type of clothes, like he wanted to get dressed up, like wear nice clothes, which of course is a good thing, mashallah, with good intentions. And he went like to the wardrobe, and then he said his father was there, and he said, he always remembers his father saying to him that, first he said no, then he said, yeah, actually wear it, but you just remember something. These clothes, they don't define you. And these clothes don't define you. And other people's perception of you doesn't define who you are. Yeah, the way other people feel and think about you. This is a particular problem when we see with children, particularly and even adults, like when they get to teenage years and then beyond teenage years, if it becomes rooted within the heart, it's then difficult to remove. Like they mentioned, the scholars of spirituality say 90% of the veils, 90% of our veils that are preventing us from Allah, 90% are due to other people. Because all of these diseases that we see, that we talk about, like envy, jealousy, you can't be envious unless there's another person involved. Now, who are you going to be envious of if you don't care about be envious? Because why did he get that? That's because you're thinking about someone else and why they got that thing. You can't be ostentatious. You can't show off. You can't display your deeds without other people. The point is you're trying to impress somebody else. That's why you're saying, look what I've done, and trying to show how much you fast and how much you pray. You can't be arrogant without other people because you think you're better than someone else. If you're not even thinking about other people, you don't even care about other people and their opinion of you and who they are and their rank, then why would that affect you? So it all comes back to this seeking manzila, position, rank within the hearts of human beings. Yeah, this desire to seek position and rank within the hearts of human beings. This is what leads to this proliferation and all of these various diseases. So he's warning against that. He says, if that's become settled in your heart, then there's a problem. Yeah. That we seek from our Lord what he calls thabat. Thabat is the greatest criterion of success. Yeah, if you want to see success and we want to understand what success is, then we have to look at this concept of thabat, consistency. So how do we know? This is important for us in a difficult age now. We live in an age where we're at the end of time, no doubt, where even our religious leadership is problematic. There's so many charlatans now. There's so many people, and I'm sure there always have been. It seems to become even more apparent in our time that there's so many religious leaders in inverted commas that are fake. They're behaving and they're doing things for other than Allah, and it becomes very apparent sometimes, and it becomes very, very clear and stark when we see this. So how do we differentiate between the sound, the correct religious leader, the correct religious scholar, and the incorrect, the imposter? It's not about number of students. It's not about number of followers. If that was a criterion, then it'd be a different way of looking at it. That's not the criterion. The criterion, like our teacher, Habib Muhammad al-Aidarusi, mentioned this on a number of occasions. He said, if you want to understand the difference between the real and the fake, it's thabat, it's consistency, and it's firmness upon the way. See how firm and strong they are upon the way of truth. They are upon representing the truth, and upon standing and being with the truth and being consistent with their activities and with the truth. That's the criteria. The criteria is, and it never was, the amount of, because if it was that, then we would say, Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam, yeah, he didn't make it. Of course he made it. He's one of the 5 ulul azm, isn't he? Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam is one of the 5 great, mighty prophets, ulul azm, the 5 prophets of resolve. He's one of the 5 greatest human beings to have ever walked on the face of this planet, Sayyidina Nuh. Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam gave da'wah for what, 900 odd years. They say the maximum number that's mentioned, they say that he had 80 followers. That's the maximum number mentioned. He had 80 followers. And really, that's a high number. The reality is that it's much less than that. The reality is that it's far less. Like, you know, the majority of the Mufassirun will say less than that. But even if you go with 80, that means that's one person every 13 and a half years. Yeah, one person entered into Islam through every 13 and a half years. So it doesn't mean anything. That's not the criteria of success. Because Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam is head and shoulders above people who they might have hundreds of people that have entered Islam in 13 and a half years on their hands. But it doesn't mean the key is thabat. He stayed consistent, laylan wa nahara. Yeah, he continued to call day and night, and he continued to call people to truth and uprightness, even when they rejected him, even when they turned away, even when they were obstinate, yeah, even when they were just arrogantly refusing to listen to him, even when they were like plugging their ears before him, you know, insulting him, etc. He remained firm. And that's the key. Yeah, the key is firmness. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. And to be firm, we have to remove this love of creation, this love of impressing people. We have to remove this fear. But this is the problem when you look at love of leadership, you know, wanting to position in other people's hearts. Yeah, one is that you waste your time trying to gain love of other people, and you enjoy trying to, you know, for other people to be impressed by you, or to have control over the hearts of people. It's like a power trip. Yeah, you want to have control over the hearts of people. Yeah, so that's one aspect. The other aspect is that you become afraid. What's he gonna say? What's she gonna say? What's she gonna do? What's he gonna do? We start to become worried and fear what other people will do, and it affects the decisions we make with our religion, whether it's personal or whether it's, you know, the way we operate in society. This fear of what other people, what are they gonna say, what they're gonna do, that becomes the number one reason why we act or don't act. Yeah, that is like just as dangerous as seeking out this love. Yeah, the point is that we should have no desire for praise from people, and we should have no fear of criticism of people. Yeah, these two things, that love and praise from people, it doesn't affect our hearts. If people praise you, just say Ameen. Inshallah, Allah will make that come. It's not true, but inshallah, Allah will make it come true. Let's hope it manifests. Yeah, and then if people criticize you, there's two things. If someone is criticizing you, either it's true, yeah, either it's true, which is mashallah, you thank that person and you're truly grateful because he's showing you your weaknesses. He's showing you your faults. He's allowing you to get better, number one. Or it's not true. And if it's not true, then what does it matter anyway, what he's saying or what she's saying? It doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, so to live a life in fear of what people are going to think, what society going to think, you know, what's like, you know, my extended family going to think about this decision? It doesn't matter what they think. What does Allah think? What does the Rasul, what do they think? Yeah. What do the awliya and the salihin, the righteous and the upright, and those beloved to Allah, what do they think about your decision? How does it line up? This is what they say, like if a thought comes to you, a thought to do something, the first thing you do is you check about the Sharia. Does the Sharia allow it or not allow it? If the Sharia doesn't allow it, then you don't do the action. If the Sharia allows it, okay, Masha Sharia allows it, then you look, do the people of goodness, would they do this? Because some things are permissible to do, but are they honorable? No. Are they the best thing to do? No, they're not. They're permissible. The religion is vast, but there's grades, isn't there? There's the very best. So then you look, what would the Salihin do? Would the righteous do these things? If yes, then go ahead and do it. And this is our criterion for deciding what to do and what not to do. It's never dictated by fear. Yeah, fear is what's really motivating the vast majority of decisions. And it's leading to bad decision making from people. Like, they talk to people about regrets that they have on the deathbed, top 10 regrets. And there's always going to be in the top 5 of people, or even at the top 2 or 3, like the fact that they feared meant that they couldn't live the life they wanted. So their regret is what? They say, I regret not living a full life because of fear. I feared what people would say, what would happen, what people would do, and it prevented me from living a life that made me happy. Even from a dunyavi point of view, even from a point of view of just having satisfaction and joy and happiness. Just from that point of view, fear actually prevents. It's obviously the number one driver for anxiety and worry and grief. Okay, so we have this. Then he continues on and he says, وَيَتَجَلَّى هذا في حسن انطوائكم في الذين سبقوكم ونيتكم في جمع قلوب المسلمين وتآلف بينهم. Subhanallah. Yeah, so he says that this sincerity, to be a person of sincerity and to be a person who desires Allah. This is what we want, isn't it? And if we become this person, if we become people of sincerity, this manifests how? In our intentions to gather the Muslims and to create love between them, mashallah, to gather and bring them together. This is the path of da'wah. Yeah, this is the path of calling to Islam. Yeah, this ta'aluf, to bring people together. Now, the opposite of that, what's the opposite of that? Is shaitan, to divide people. The job of shaitan and the human demons who are part of his armies, human demons were far more dangerous than the spiritual demons. Their intention, their mission, their job is to split hearts, to separate people, whether it's husband and wife, whether it's father and son, or mother and daughter, or whatever it might be within family structures, or whether it's beyond that, into extended families, neighborhoods, communities. They're just trying, these demons, their job, all they're trying to do is just separate people and causing like arguments and turbulence within people. So our job as callers to Allah is the exact opposite, is to actually bring people together. This is universal. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a community leader to do this. This is just the way you should be as a human being. Whatever situation you're confronted with, you're trying to bring hearts together. It's ajib, isn't it? Like the ulama, they'll tell us that it's actually permissible to lie. You can lie if you're trying to bring people's hearts together. So if you have 2 people that have had an argument and you're talking to one of them, you can lie. You can say to that person, oh, so-and-so, he said you're really good. He never said it, but you can say that just to bring the hearts together. SubhanAllah. And if you can't take the ibrah, the lesson from that, about how important it is to bring hearts together, then we can't take the lesson from anything. That we take any means to bring hearts together and to unite human beings. And the one who does that, shaitan opposes him. And what's going to end up happening is that person there, shaitan is going to really try and attack that person. Why? Because he's doing the opposite of the devil's work. So anyone who's trying to do the opposite of the devil's work, he's going to be attacked. No doubt he's going to be attacked. Shaitan is going to try to undermine him. because he's trying to create a change within society. So you have to be aware and ready for that. When you're either trying to create good, the devil's going to get upset and he's going to try to derail your plans. But this is what we're trying to do. And part of this is environments. If we want to bring hearts together, we have to create spaces, environments, like our own homes to begin with. Our own homes should be places that are open, relaxed, non-judgmental, welcoming, beautiful spaces. One of the things we saw with the Habaib, these great scholars of Hadramaut from Yemen, who they've really mastered this aspect of da'wah, of community engagement, that they have public houses. Their homes are public. They're open to everybody. And, there's sometimes like you see hundreds of people enter and leave and enter. And even one day, hundreds, even thousands of people might have entered and left their house. They might have had 4 or 5 different lessons and gatherings and dinners, wedding celebrations, aqiqahs, whatever it might be. The houses are there just to bring, and everyone's welcome. Anyone's welcome. There's no one's judged. No one says, oh no, you've got to do this. You just come in and you partake in the blessings of being involved in these gatherings. So we have that. And then beyond that, of course, our masajid need to become like that. You should have other environments also that allow for hearts to be joined. What do we really need for hearts to be joined? The most important thing really is just for people to sit together. This is what you'll find. And one of the secrets of the Jama'ah, just sitting together. I remember one of the things we established a food bank many years ago, like 2012, I think it was, about 9 years ago, we established a food bank. And one of the intentions behind the food bank was to get different people to sit together. There's different denominations, different masajid, different mosques from different groups, just to get them to sit together. Because once they sit together and they eat together, or they have a cup of tea together, naturally, boundaries are going to fall. Because you think, well, he's a human being, he hasn't got 2 heads. This person who I've been opposing is just the same as me. And then he's got the same struggles. There's one imam struggling to another imam. It no longer matters what your belief system is or what your ideology is. He's talking about this. He's got the same issues. He's trying to struggle with this. There's a natural flow of ideas and exchange, mutual sympathy, affection, love develops, empathy. All these things develop just through sitting with people. So we should really reach out. One of the things that I love to see, one of the things I loved about this, the approach that I saw from scholars in places like Tarim, is they go out to the people. They're everywhere. They're not waiting for the people to come to them. One of the students of knowledge, he mentioned to me in Fairs, he said that it's interesting, he said the awliya and the anbiya, there's actually a difference. He said the awliya, generally, these saintly figures, generally, they're isolated from people. Because they just want to be with their Lord. They're in a state of love and desire for Allah. They're isolated from people, and people come to them. So the awliya, these great saintly figures, generally, they might be in the desert, they might be in the outback, in the forest, or wherever or even if they're living in a town, they're isolated, and people come to them. That's the awliya. The way of the anbiya is the opposite. They go out to people, constantly go out and speak and engage people, sit with people. It's a difference. And that's higher. Why is it higher? Because it's more difficult. Now you think about the purity of the heart of the Prophet ﷺ. We can't even imagine the purity of a heart that can bear the word of God. The qawlun thaqila, the word of the infinite, word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be thrust into his blessed heart and he can bear it. So the purity of his heart is beyond belief. Yet this pure heart sits with people. He visits the marketplaces and he calls people to Islam in the market. Do you think the Prophet ﷺ wants to go to the aswaq, these ugly places? Really, even the faqir, even coming back here now, like where I'm living now, I live next to a marketplace. And someone like myself, you're a foul individual, for want of a better term. You feel darkness by being next to the marketplace. It affects your salah. You can't pray properly because you can feel darkness. You can feel anxiety. You can feel evil forces just by being in a place where all is just, because these are the most hated places. The most hated places on the earth are the aswaq and marketplaces. And the most beloved places are the masajid. That's a hadith in Muslim. Sahih Muslim is completely sound. It's a sound hadith. And yet, as Muslims, I've visited Muslim lands where I'm not going to mention names, I've heard from the Muslims, where the whole city is a big shopping mall. The whole city is a big shopping mall. Where's the barakah there? Why would you build a city that's basically just a shopping mall? Yeah, so we had, and yet, so the point of the Prophet ﷺ, he goes to the marketplaces. He goes and sits with the most foul of people. He sits with them and he talks about them about Islam. People who are rude, people who are very arrogant, completely reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his way. Complete ingratitude, completely ungrateful. Allah's given them gift after gift and they reject it. These kind of like people, the Prophet ﷺ used to go out and speak to them, reach out to them, go to them. Yeah, despite the purity, this is the way of the Anbiya and the Rusul. They go out just because they want to rectify. They have one intention, and one intention only, which is to rectify hearts and to bring them closer to Allah. Yeah, and from amongst that is to just have that, togetherness, to bring people together. Yeah, so we have this, and then he says, "Wa fil qiyam." So he says, your intention should be to bring the hearts of the Muslims together, of the Muslims together. But fil qiyam bi sha'ri Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala wa nusrati dinihi. Yeah, وَمُعَادَةِ أَعْدَائِهِ مِمَّنْ يُعَادِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ نَصَارَى وَيَهُودَ وَمَنْ وَالَاهُ. Yeah, and also your intention should be to establish the law of God, the Sharia. The Sharia is vast. It's a vast, vast way. So we should be seeking to establish that way within our communities, within our societies, in the best way, the most perfect, the wisest, the most intelligent way that we can. Yeah, and then alongside that, we should also be seeking to give victory to the religion. Give victory to the religion of Allah by supporting. Yeah, we support people of good. We assist and we help people of khair, people of good. Yeah, through these things. And by opposing those who oppose the Muslims. Anybody who's an enemy to the Muslims has to be opposed. Yeah, this is one of the things we have to recognize. There's people out there, their intention is just to sow corruption in the earth. Their intention is just to divide and destroy. So therefore, those people, we have to be firm. We have to stand up. This is where courage comes in. We have to be courageous enough to speak out. Truth is truth and falsehood is falsehood. Light is light. Darkness is darkness. Yeah, and we have to be willing to stand up and say that. We also have to be brave enough to stand with others, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, like we see the pact of wudu in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Before prophecy, before the age of 40, they have this pact of wudu, which is what happens, and a man comes from outside of Mecca, a trader comes into Mecca, and he's cheated our money. And no one defends this man. He's got no economic rights, no justice. So he goes out and he makes an announcement. Ya Ma'ashar al-Quraysh. He calls all the Quraysh and he says, listen, I've come to your town, I've been cheated. Yeah, I've been cheated out of money and goods. No one's defending me. Only people of goodness and uprightness. So a group of people respond and an agreement is made, what they call the Pact of Fudul, which is that everybody has a right to be treated fairly. The Prophet ﷺ stands on that day with those people. He's part of those meetings and he stands. And then he mentions later on in life ﷺ, that he says that this pact goes, if I was called to this again, if I was called to standing for justice and truth with non-Muslims alike, yeah, there's obviously these people who are Muslim, yeah, the pact of Fudul, he said, then I would do it. So there's a secret in there for us as well, within our context, that we seek. Our purpose is simply to stand with the truth. Yeah, that's our purpose. Our purpose is to stand and to be people that witness truth, and to be people that are with the truth. But khalas, that's it. Like they mentioned the great Shaykh Ahmad Zarruq, Shaykh Ahmad Zarruq radiyallahu anhu warḍah, who's like, one of his titles is, they call him the rectifier of the scholars and the awliya. That's his title. He's somebody, forget about rectifying like amongst people, he rectifies the scholars and the saints of this religion. That was his title. That was a unique title given only to him. There's no other scholar in the Islamic Ummah who's had that title in Islamic history. So what does he say? He's talking, one of his books he mentions, he talks about the Jewish people that were living in Fez at the time. He was from Fez in Morocco. And he says that we are unjust towards them. This is why he says, speak out. He doesn't care, he speaks out. He says, listen, because these people, we are unfair towards them. Instead of explaining to them the religion, giving them the light of guidance, we use and abuse them. We economically oppress them. He said that. And you know what happens? The people accused him of being a Jew. SubhanAllah. Why? Because he's standing, but he doesn't care. He's standing with the truth. He's standing with the truth saying, no, this is wrong. These people are being treated unfairly. This isn't Islam. This isn't the Prophet ﷺ's way. He stands for truth. And they accuse him of being a Jew. Yeah, so these problems always existed. But who cares? Again, why are we interested in what people think about us? Our interest is what Allah thinks about us, what the Rasul ﷺ wants from us. And then we live by that. Yeah, so this is the point here, is that it returns back to the point you made at the start. Yeah, to remove this manzila, yeah, to remove this hubbil manzila, fi qulubin nas, to remove this love of position in the hearts of people. Yeah, through that we're then able to really serve the religion truly, inshallah. We ask Allah for tawfiq, we ask Allah to accept our worship on this night that's just gone on, the great nights of the year. And really now, mashallah, we're really on the verge of Ramadan. It's just like about 2 weeks away, or just over 2 weeks away, inshallah ta'ala. So we hope, inshallah, we'll be having a preparing Ramadan event as well, inshallah, for people who want to sort of, go through the rules of Ramadan, inshallah, from a Hanafi perspective. There's also others. There's our blessed and beloved teacher, Mawlana Al-Shad, who's also doing a Ramadan event, I believe, and inshallah, I don't know the full details, but we can send out the details to people about that as well, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, there's a question here. Can you please recommend a dua? A very excellent question. Can you please recommend a dua or a litany to remove love or wanting to please or gain approval of people from the heart? Okay, so there's a prophetic cure. It's this. We say this 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening. We say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushdika bika shay'an wa ana alamu bih. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushdika bika shay'an wa ana alamu bih. Wa Allahumma wa astaghfiruka lima la alamu bih. I'll say it one more time and then I'll translate it. And this has been recorded obviously on YouTube. You can access this on YouTube so you can listen to it again, inshallah, to just get this dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika shay'an wa ana alamu bih wa astaghfiruka lima la alamu bih. So this is the prophetic dua. Prophet ﷺ would say this 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. And it means, oh Allah, I seek protection, meaning a'udhu bika in you, that I should associate anything with you. Yeah, that I should make any kind of partner to you. And I'm aware of it and I know about it. And I seek forgiveness in anything that I don't know about. I'm doing and I don't even realize it. Yeah, that dua, they say if you're feeling this love, wanting love of people, read this dua. Yeah, read this dua and suppress that. Yeah, so this is really a direct cure. The other one is, of course, Surah Al-Ikhlas. Yeah, the Surah Al-Ikhlas, to recite that as much as possible, recite it profusely. Yeah, the more we recite that, the more distant we become from wanting love from people. The more we recite it. So that's litanies. More important than that, actually, just reflection. Like they mention the diseases of the heart, there's always 2 things they'll mention. They'll mention a dhikr to do, something to recite, something to read, and then they'll mention a reflection, every single one. So we should reflect over the nature of what's to come. Reflect over the nature of people. What are people? People have no power. We're just simply puppets on a string. We have no power or ability. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no power or strength except with Allah. So why then are we wasting time trying to impress people? Yeah, because there's nothing there anyway. There's nothing they can do for you. There's no way they can harm you or no way that they can benefit you whatsoever. There's nothing they can do. So therefore, why then would you expend energy? If you just think about it for a minute, just think about it. Why am I going to expend energy in these things? Now, why am I going to expend energy when I could be focusing my attention upon the Rabbul Nas, the Rabbul Alameen, or Rabbul Arshil Azim, the Lord of the worlds, yeah, the Lord of all of creation. Yeah, mashallah. So if there's any, is there any other questions? Sorry. Okay, mashallah. Jazakumullah khair, inshallah. Okay, yeah, so it's been written there, and also we'll try to get like the Arabic for it, inshallah ta'ala. Or like we said, people can just listen to the YouTube and or the, the live the recording and just try to get it down from there, inshallah. It's very important, especially those people who are in this field of da'wah, that we should be, inshallah, trying to recite these du'as. We need prophetic invocations. Our teacher Sheikh Ahmad Hussein Al-Khatib, and he visited England like a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago, something like that, and he delivered a 10-year dawra, a 10-year intensive on community work, da'wah. And the main focus, the main thing he talked about was actually prophetic supplications, to fill our day with prophetic supplications. That was his number one piece of advice. Yeah, so these things really, they bring barakah into our lives, to recite these at the right times and to recite these constantly and consistently. Inshallah. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala sayyidina wa habibina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. It's been written there in Arabic as well, so we leave this open for people who want to get it. We leave the Zoom open, inshallah ta'ala.